Hey guys, one of these recently picked up a couple of these KTM 500 EXC-Fs, the 2021 models. Really excited about it. And we wanted to take you guys with us as we go through the build out process, talk about what's different, what we like, maybe things we might find that we don't like about these bikes, how they compare to some of the other bikes that we've ridden, what you can do to get them built just right so that you get that plated bike with the track qualifications that we really want when we're out riding hard enduro. One of the first things that I actually already did to this bike before I thought to get the camera out was work on the fender eliminator kit. Now, in order to be street legal, you'll need to keep turn signals in there. And there's a reason all that stuff's on there. There's DOT regulations, etc. But for off-road use, it's really nice that KTM's integrated the same brake light into the off-road and plated versions of the bike, meaning that you really don't have to go and buy a fender eliminator kit in order to do a pretty good job cleaning these up for off-road use. Another thing that I already did to this bike day one was the handlebars come up completely wrong. That's nobody's fault. How are they going to adjust it for you until you buy the bike? So that's not something I expected. But I've had to rotate them forward quite a bit. I'm still planning to drop the controls down into a nice enduro aggressive position. I've been waiting until I put the bar guards on to do that. So we'll run through how to do that. But again, don't expect it to come off the factory floor ready to ride. It's just not. Hey guys, I'm super excited. I just got a box of parts in from P3 Carbon. I'm not sure exactly if they shipped everything that I ordered, but I'm gonna open this box up and let's see what we got. All right, this is looking pretty good. So I got a front disc protector in a nice orange weave color. It's a carbon fiber part. Pretty excited to try that out. And I got the same color frame bar protectors. It's a nice upgrade over stock. And oh cool, they did ship everything. Got the long pipe guard. That's got the pipe guard plus heat shield. So let's go ahead and get these parts installed. I'm excited. So next I'm going to install these Shocksox. I really like these because they protect the shock not only from dirt coming up and interfering with the seal and eventually trashing the seal, but also from nicks and scratches that can happen to the stanchion tube that's sticking down there. I busted one of those on the beta, so I installed these and I never had trouble with that again. So let's show you how to wrap these on. They're really easy. They just Velcro open like shoes when you were a kid or something like that. Wrap them around and just cinch them tight. It's super simple to do. We've had to move into the studio because it got cold and dark outside. So here we have lights and it's warm. The next thing we're installing today is this P3 pipe guard. It's also got the heat shield piece. So it'll fit something like that. I'm pretty happy with how this went in. Looks real nice. We're now going to tackle the handguard situation. So I've got both replacement ODI grips that are going to go on here, which I'm pretty excited about. They're a lot softer than the stock grips, but as I mentioned previously, since ODI comes stock on these KTMs, the cam is going to already be in place, and all I have to do is snap in the new lock-on grip. So I'm really excited about that. I've also got Cycra wraparound bar ends that mount to the top of the triple clamps where the handlebars go through, and I'm pretty excited about how those work. So we're going to go all through and get that installed, and at the same time as I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get these levers adjusted or rotated into place. they're way too high. They come stock set up for you to sit on the bike and ride it in a street setup, and I really want that attack position for enduro riding. So I'm going to rotate everything into place as I put the guards and the hand guards on. We're going to start with the hand guards because you've got to cut the ends and then put the guards on outside. And finally, I got the Bulletproof Designs threaded bar ends. So we're going to tap the ends of the handlebars and thread those in, and that's what the Cycra grips will mount to. So we'll dive in. There's a few things that are going to happen here. We'll dive in and show you guys how to put all those pieces on. This gray part is the cam, and it'll snap off of the white tube, and I'll put a new white tube in with the different grips that I'm trying to change out. Now while I have it open, I'm going to cut off the end of the lever. I like to 2-finger or 1-finger the clutch, and this ball is hardly in the way. I usually cut it right at the brake point there. So I got these Bulletproof Design threaded bar ends, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to use a tap to cut threads into the end of the handlebar. We're going to thread these things in. Use these anchor screws to anchor the bar guards into these threaded bar ends. The reason I like these is they don't rotate around, so once you get them tight, they really stay locked in place, and they give the bar guards a lot more stability. It's pretty typical with these setups to have to move a bunch of the stuff that's underneath, so I'm going to be pulling off this number plate, and I've got to relocate the key because, as you can see, it's hitting right into it. I'm probably going to get the steering stabilizer, and Slavens includes a key relocation kit with the Scott damper, which I think is going to be really cool. So for now, I'm just going to jerry rig something up to get the wires and the key out of the way. Today I'm going to put the rest of the armor on and show you guys how to walk through that process. Doing the front and rear disc guards and the caliper guard. So that's Bulletproof Designs going on the rear and the P3 carbon disc guard going on the front. And I'm also going to switch over to this Enduro Engineering aluminum skid plate. I really like the P3 carbon plate that's on there. I think it's a beautiful plate and it looks really nice on the bike. It's super lightweight, and it really dampens the sound that would otherwise come up off of a metal plate. So there's a ton to like about it. But I've actually already cracked my engine casing. This is not a slight on P3 Carbon. They're fucking great products. I can't recommend them strongly enough. I'm definitely keeping a bunch of their stuff on this bike because they look fantastic and they work really great. But in this particular case, the way that I ride this bike in hard enduro, there's a lot of times where I'm slamming the bottom of the bike down on rocks and tree roots and log crossings and stuff like that, sometimes at speed, and there's just nothing like a metal plate to do that kind of really heavy abuse to the bike. I'll be sacrificing weight, I'll be sacrificing the sound effect that comes up off of this metal plate. So there's several things that I'm expecting to be, sort of having to trade in to do this. But I think in this case, given my riding style, I think that's the right way to go. So we're gonna get all these parts installed, and we're just about done with this build. The only thing that I still have coming are the FMF pipe and the Vortex ECU, which I'm gonna do a separate standalone video on because I really want to get into what those look like. And I've still got the Bulletproof Designs radiator guards. They're on back order. I really wanted the orange ones, so I'm holding out waiting for those. And I think that's just about it. So pretty stoked to get these final few parts on this bike. I actually already cracked the ignition cover casing. No fault of any of the armor. I dropped it on and actually pegged the shift lever into the casing and put a pinhole in it. So I've also had to order that from Malcolm Smith in Riverside. So definitely, I'm a huge fan of armoring up these bikes. That's why we're doing this entire build project. So let's dive in. So I really like the way that these P3 carbon plates have this extra protection that comes up the side. I think that's really slick. They come up and protect, in this case, the water pump. And over on the ignition side, on the shift lever side, you've got this really nice protection for the ignition cover, which is definitely something that Wannabe's riders have cracked in the past. We've got some Instagram content up on that. It's actually pretty funny. But if you set this bit down on a rock, you're definitely going to crack it open. And this P3 plate does just a beautiful job of coming out and covering that without the need for extra engine guards. Now, where I got myself in trouble is I actually dropped it. You can see the shift lever here is a little bit dinged up. I dropped it on a rock that hit the shift lever and drove the pointy bit on the back of the shift lever where it pivots through the casing just behind where this plate covers. So I'm going to be doing a couple of things to beef that up. I'm putting the Enduro Engineering plate on, which is going to give me clearance here to put specific Acerbis engine covers over these to prevent this happening again. So again, no fault of P3 Carbon. I really like their products, but in this case I'm going to do something just a little bit beefier. I am pretty stoked about the way that their pipe guard has worked out, and I'm definitely excited to be running that along with their frame sliders, which are really beautiful products. So I got these Bulletproof Designs radiator guards that I've been waiting for almost since I bought the bike. I'm really stoked to get those in. I had to wait a while to get them in orange, so pretty excited about that. I've got the fork shoes to protect the bottom of the front forks by Acerbis, which I'm pretty excited about. I've never run those before, but I did bang them up pretty good on my beta, so I think that'll be really nice. I've got a whole selection of Trailbounds straps, so I'm really excited to try to get my toolkit out of the backpack and onto the fender of the bike. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work though, because I keep banging the fender and ripping it off on this bike. I'm really not that stoked about how KTM built this particular rear fender, but that's a story for another day. I've got a new ignition cover to replace the cover where I smashed a hole in it, and to prevent that happening again, I got these really nice Acerbis engine and covers. They're covers for both sides, and these are a beautiful part. I had something kind of like this on the beta, but you can see how much coverage you get, water pump and oil pump and all that stuff. Really excited to try those. I think that's going to be fantastic. The last step in this build is to get these Delany Drive Component sprockets installed. I am going with a 52-tooth rear sprocket and a 13-tooth front sprocket. I'm pretty excited about this. I've tried a friend's bike, which is the same bike as mine, but he went 1350, and I really liked the effect of it. We'll do probably a gearing video at some point and kind of go through why we gear it so low, what gears we run on hill climbs and things like that. But for now, I'm pretty excited about the build quality of these sprockets. They're supposed to be really strong. I haven't tried them in the past, so we'll see. I have chewed up sprockets quite a bit on previous bikes. So big shout out to Delany Drive Components for sending these over to me. Really appreciate you guys communicating around the shipping delays. Everybody has these problems these days with COVID and everything. So super appreciate you guys. Thanks a ton. Looking forward to trying these out and probably do a review on gearing on this bike at some point in the future. And that's a wrap. We are finally done with the initial build of this KTM 500. I am pretty fucking stoked about getting this out on the trail more. I've been out on it a few times while we've been going through the build process. I've been riding pretty much every week, and it's taken me a couple of weeks to finish this project with parts availability and things like that. There's still a few things that I want to do to this bike, but we're going to make those separate projects. The first and biggest one is, as I've mentioned a couple of times, we're going to be putting an FMF pipe and a Vortex ECU in, and I really want to do a video that talks in detail about what you get out of that kit and what the trade-offs are that you're going to have to invest in that project. So we'll see what that looks like separately. I'm also going to end up putting a bigger tank on it, I think, but I really want to spend a few weeks riding it, see what kind of mileage I get out of this, and see how big of a tank I want to go for. Of course, bikes are always, in my mind at least, a living project in that they're always evolving. You change your riding styles, you go new places, you break stuff that you maybe didn't realize was breakable, and you'll add parts, you'll subtract parts, you'll make modifications or try new things, and that's always going to be an ongoing process, and I'm excited to do that. But I think as an initial setup, I've got this bike the way that I really want it. It's important to understand that building your bike is a pretty personal experience. We here at the Wannabes have several bikes on our crew, and everybody does theirs a little bit differently. It's kind of like riding gear. Everybody likes a different helmet, everybody likes a different chest protector or to not wear one, or knee braces or not. Well, it's the same thing with bikes. People like different levels of protection and are willing to make different kinds of trade-offs. Every piece of armor that you put on a bike adds a little bit of weight and potentially gets in the way in certain places. I've had to make some trade-offs with this build, so this works for me, but don't take this as necessarily a blueprint for how you should do your bike. Even if you're getting the exact same KTM 500, there might be some different things that you'd want to do to your bike that maybe we didn't do, or some things that we did that you don't think are necessary. We'd love to hear your thoughts on those changes or your kind of wish list. Drop those in the comments below. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on our next videos where we do the pipe install, we get a tank on this bike, and of course we're out on the trail actually riding the thing. Talk soon.